Welcome to my studio, and this is what 1 kg of neat perfume juice will look like. And this is what 5 kg will look like. I actually got this from a flea market and repurposed it and put some flowers in it. I thought it looked rather lovely. But this is just to give you an idea of the sizes. So the minimum MOQ you're ever going to get from a perfume house is 1 kg. Now the one in Grasse and the one in Dubai do 1 kg. The one in the UK do 2 kg. So you'll probably normally get either double the size of this or two separate ones. And if you order 5 kg from the Italian perfume house, it's gonna look like this. But a perfume house, they have limitations. They basically just make the juice normally. And if you're making candles, for instance, I just worked with a client who has released 11 candles in the US, and I helped with the scent design for that fragrance, all of those fragrances. And she basically, and him, they're a couple, and amazing fragrances. And it was such a challenging brief that I had from them because they wanted something so bespoke and so completely unusual. And anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what they did is they actually have their minimum MOQ, because they're in the US, was 25 kg, and you'll often get that with bigger houses, especially when you're reading in the ebooks. Robertet, Tagasago, Firmenich, IFF, Givaudan, all of these houses will be at least 25 kg minimum. So if you want to go down that road, you want to work with one of those great big houses, then that's fine by you, but fine by me. But if you want to do this, then go with some of the smaller houses that will do this size for you. Now, how many bottles are you going to get out of this? This is 1 kg. Let's say you have a 100 ml perfume bottle and you want it to be a 10% strength. So, you just need to do the math. So you're going to need 10 mils per bottle. So out of 10 mils, out of 100 mils, you'll get 10 bottles. So out of this, you'll get around 100 bottles. You'll get 50 bottles if you want double the strength at 100 mils. So if you want a 20% strength, you'll get around 50 bottles, perfume bottles, just out of this. But then look, think about the profit margins as well that you can make on this. If this is costing you, not including shipping, about $50 to $100, right? Now, do the math now. Let's say it's maximum $100 this is going to cost you. And that's going on the expensive side, to be honest with you. I got a copy of a Jo Malone perfume because it was discontinued and I wanted to see if they could copy it. So I sent them a sample of a 5 ml thing that I found on the internet in the UK, shipped it to them, and they did a really good copy of it because that's what perfume houses can do. And it was $56 for this. And I know that the Jo Malone perfumes are quite weak in strength, maybe 8 to 10%. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, because they're cologne, type fragrances, so they tend to be weaker. So imagine the profit that they get in. Jo Malone charges a lot, right? When I was in Dubai, it was 400 dirhams, over 100 euros. Actually, no, a bit less than 100 euros for a tiny little bottle, 30 mLs. So there's massive profits in perfume, huge profits. And this is the one where you're going to make all the profit is on the juice, not on the packaging. You're going to pay more for the bottle, for the label, for the box, and all of that. You're going to pay a lot more than you would for the neat juice. But what the perfume house, let me go back to that now. This is why I have a script when I do podcasts. Anyway, they wanted this, but what they had to do is they wanted a proprietary soy blend mix of the candle. And they had, obviously I can't reveal who, but they had a specific candle filler. So once the perfume house has gone, there you go, your modifications are complete, you're happy with it, we're going to make the final blend for you, we're going to ship it to you. And you go, no, I don't want you to ship it to me, I want you to ship it to my candle filler. So, or it might be whoever is making if you're doing organic body lotions, let's say, or if you're doing perfumes and you've got a facility that's going to dilute, condition, macerate, and then fill your bottle with the end product of the perfume and put it in the bottle, crimp it, box it, and all that kind of stuff. So the perfume house can absolutely do that. If you're going to do it yourself in your own studio, then by all means get it shipped to yourself. Like my friend Vincent and I dilute my own and I do all of the work myself because I make solid perfumes and I put them in little vintage pill boxes. So that's not something a filler will do or a packaging company. But you can, so if you are going down the road of using somebody to do it, so let's say, for instance, let's use the candle example, you will get your candle filler to ship the base, not without fragrance, to ship the actual base of the exact blend that you're going to be using in your candle, ship it to the perfume house, care of whoever is your point of contact, and then what they will do is they will then get this and put it into the candle. But this will be during the testing stages. So this will be while you're getting samples. So if you are going to go down the candle route, let's say, and you give them the end product, you ship it to them, they will send you a neat sample of this. If you're also going to be doing perfumes, you can ask for a diluted sample in alcohol, ethanol alcohol. And then you can also say, I'm going to send you the base of my candle. I want you to test it in this container. So then we'll then put this into the blend of the candle. So they'll make little mini candle samples for you so that you can smell and see what the burn is like and make sure that the strength is okay. Make sure that it doesn't give you any allergies. A lot of fragrance candles give allergies. I very rarely, only when I was testing for my client, would I ever burn fragrance candles. And I made sure that none of hers had these kind of effects. So her whole range is completely like without allergies. It's amazing. So yeah, that is what you will do with the juice. So I hope that makes sense. So it's a process when it comes to dealing with perfume houses is about managing expectations. Now, listen, please, please, please. Do you like my fringe? I don't know what I was thinking. Don't normally have a fringe. Anyway, bit too much rosé one night and bangs, there they go. It's okay, it'll grow back. But when you're looking at perfume houses, you need to manage your expectations. Now, please don't be overwhelmed by the amount of ebooks that there are. I've got a lot of ebooks for you. There's a lot of reading and there's a lot of PDFs for you as well to be able to download. Now, what's going to happen at the end of the course, right at the end, I am going to put everything and combine it into a book. Now, this is going to be, not made my mind up yet, probably available in PDF, but I am a bit worried about the potential of, people sharing it. Not you, I mean, but, people getting their hands on it. So I might turn it into a print-on-demand book that people can actually then buy off Amazon, which is where my fragrance is my favorite F-word book. That's also print-on-demand at the moment. And I might put it on there. So it's a book that you can purchase on top of the course and you will be able to get that. Or I might do it as a PDF, but it will be password protected for you. But anyway, the point I'm getting to is that everything that you've got, all of the ebooks, at the moment, they're in little snippets to make it more digestible for you to read and for you to be able to navigate through the course. But at the end of the course, they're going to be in one giant great big book. I don't know how long it's going to be and how big it's going to be. It might be like 300 pages, but that's okay. And I will have images and I will keep the price lower because I won't put any coloured images in it because print on demand costs a lot of money when you are going for a hardback book and B, coloured images, and you have to go for the premium as well because the not premium coloured images are not good at all. And that's not what I want to portray my brand. I can go down the cheap route if I want to sell a recipe book, for like €4 or something like that. And you'll never be able to get it printed for that anyway. But if €10, let's say, you could probably get away with it, but not what I'm charging for my book. So yeah, that's going to be an option. Probably PDF and print on demand. I might do both, but that's why you've got a lot of readings because I wanted to prepare it so that you don't have to wait for too long for that book. But it is about managing expectations. Now, in the ebook, you probably heard my story. When I was in Grasse last year in June, I'd been dealing with a 4th generation perfumer who works at a perfume house in Grasse. And I gave him my Drama Queen formula, the year before actually, and he sent me a all natural version, and he sent me a mixed media, so synthetics and naturals, mostly synthetics version, and the price difference was huge. For this, it was going to cost me almost €2,000. I'm not kidding. €2,000, but I would actually still make a profit on that. Can you believe it? Not much, but I would still make a profit on a €2,000. But then the one with the synthetic, guess how much? 65 euros. So it's a massive, massive difference. It's less than 10 times, more than 10 times less. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, I know, Melanie Jane, get to the point, is when you're having, you're dealing with a perfume house, I gave him the formula. I said, okay, do you know what? Because of what I stand for, I really do love naturals, and they are more difficult to work with depending on your background. But I really want to just do natural perfumes. So I went and I met him in June, and I said, okay, I will. He's had the formula still with him. I said, but what I want you to do is I want to dial down the spice of it, because I want to reissue the fragrance and dial down the spice a little bit too much, too many top notes for my liking at the moment, and sex it up a bit. Put some ambrette seed, animalic notes. Ambrette seed is like an equivalent of musk, but without animals, and it's natural as well, and it's a beautiful fragrance. And then a little bit of vanilla to give it that sexy edge. That was in June. In October, I sent him a message. Hello, how are you doing? How are you getting on with my fragrance? Because I asked him to make me some perfume bases as well. Melanie, I just haven't had time. We had some issues, technical issues, and I've got a backlog of work, and we've got far bigger clients than you to serve. I was like, oh, that is so rude. So that's why I was going to give you his contact details, and I'm not going to now, because I don't want him to be talking to you like that. And I thought, well, do you know what? I might be a small client at the moment, but one day I'm going to be one of those bigger clients, and I'm going to remember how you treated me. Now, my contact in the UK does not treat me like this whatsoever, and I've always complimented her on the fact that she treats me the same as she would with a massive corporation that was buying tons, like 20 tons. Some people do buy 20, can you imagine, 20 elephants, 20 tons of this. They do buy it. These are the big companies, and I buy 1 kg. She treats me exactly the same as those customers, and that will be the company that I will be loyal to in the future. And when I do become big and famous and have my perfumes global, which is my intention, I will always want to use them and not the person that made me feel about this big. So manage your expectations with the perfume houses. And in the ebook, I've got all of the details there about managing your expectations and time frames, etc. I've got all of that in there, so I really don't need to repeat myself. But don't expect a completely bespoke fragrance. I've had people coming to me going, it has to be bespoke. I want it to smell like nothing else. And I said, it's not going to happen. Okay. It's very, very rare. In fact, the guy in France said to me, never. No, I said, you never create a completely bespoke fragrance. That's probably why he doesn't want to work with me. But the thing is, I've given him the formula anyway. But because of the modifications that I want him to do, I want him to apply his 40 years of experience in the industry and being a 4th generation perfumer. What could be better, having somebody like that working on a fragrance for me? So I guess I've got to wait. And my husband said, look at it this way. At least he's still willing to work with you. So this is a shame that he's being like this with me, but it's time for him. Don't expect something completely bespoke unless you wanted to come through somebody like me or my friend Vincent, who will actually help you to create a formula. I'm going to ask him whether he would actually give you that formula and pass that on to you if you were to work with him and say, listen, I want to collaborate with you, give you a brief and create this fragrance for me, and then give me the formula so I can pass it on to a perfume house and then get them to make it for me. Would he do that? I don't know. I'm going to give you an update in another video about that. I wouldn't have so much of a problem with that. But if you go to a perfume house, now this is another point. if you go to a perfume house and you go, right, you're going to get something off the shelf. The guy in France, sorry, I'm going off on tangents. The guy in France, do you ever create completely bespoke fragrance? No, he said, never, no, never. Why? Why would we? When we have tens of thousands of references of already existing, commercially successful fragrance formulas in our library. Why would we have that? Why would we do that and go to all that trouble? No, we don't. What we do is we grab them at the library. So it's like going into a library. Imagine going into a library. You can see my books over there. If you go into a library and you've got different sections, and then somebody will say, I want you to write a book that is similar to Hamlet, but mixed with a bit of Hamlet by Shakespeare, but written in the tone of voice of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. So let's fuse Shakespeare and J.K. Rowling together. Let's fuse Harry Potter and Hamlet. My God, that would be really interesting fragrance, wouldn't it? Or a book, rather. So what they would do is they would say, right, we know what she wants, so we're going to go and grab that Shakespeare book, but we're going to grab another couple of Shakespeare, maybe another writer that's similar to Shakespeare. Then we're going to grab the Harry Potter book, but then we might grab another writer that's similar to the Harry Potter book. So do you get where I'm going? They will grab out of the library different fragrance formulas that match your brief, and then they will apply the modifications that you want. Now, if you go and have a look in your downloadable docs, you have it's called The Perfect Brief, because when I did a brief for a client who I ended up not working with, he ended up buying the juice, but I had to get rid of that business relationship with him because he was horrible. He was awful. He was treating me like I was somebody that he could just walk all over. And like I was his employee or something. And I won't tolerate that, with people. I'm very picky about who I work with, because when you're doing this and you're in this business creating for other people and doing like scent design, then you have a very close relationship with them. And it was so toxic, I didn't want it to continue. So I said, I'm going to put you directly in contact with the perfume house. So basically he came to me, we had a consultation. He said, I want to create 2 fragrances. It's for a friend of mine, but also we're going to be business partners. She is a influencer. She's got millions of followers on Instagram. She wants to launch 2 perfumes. And I had a consultation with him over the phone. He told me, I said, you need to write down the kind of fragrances that you like. So he talked about Baccarat Rouge, several other fragrances that he liked, but I wanted to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So if you have a look at The Perfect Brief, then you'll be able to see what he asked for. And then I said, we need to look at your demographic. Who's your target audience? So of course it was people, Instagram, the following on Instagram. They were aged between like 18 to 24. What kind of a celebrity couple do you think they would? Cristiano Ronaldo and his wife, and then another one was George Clooney and Amal, George Clooney's wife, and some of them were like trendsetters following the trends, and then the other fragrance was aimed at people that liked classic brands, so not trending ones like perhaps Moschino, Balenciaga. They would go for Hermes and Chanel and Louis Vuitton, Cartier, Mont Blanc, Rolex, driver Jaguar, that kind of thing. So these are the kinds of things that we put into the brief. And when I sent it to 2 perfume houses, they both said, Melanie, this is an absolutely perfect brief. I need ask you no more questions. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create those samples. And then we had to wait. It was actually quite a quick turnaround. For one of them, it was about, actually the one in France was only about 4 weeks. I was astounded. The one in the UK took a little bit longer, maybe 8 to 10 weeks. We got them. Now imagine these 2 perfume houses have no connection whatsoever, and they're both in different countries. The fragrances smelt almost identical. So that's how good the brief was, is that they came up with such similar fragrances. And you know what? The client, right off the bat, absolutely loved them. There was no modifications necessary. And even though I did such a good job of that, I had to still cut ties with him, and he now buys it directly from the perfume house. So this will be something that we'll go into in another section when we're talking in another module, and we're talking about scaling up your business and creating for other people. So please read through the ebooks. take a look at what to expect, and basically it's managing your expectations and about the timelines as well. Now, once you've got your modifications, I heard one of my competitors actually on a podcast, because you've got to check out your competitors, and I've told you this in some of the earlier modules with market research. I was listening to the podcast, and she was obviously trying to encourage people to create their own fragrances and buy her course, extortionately priced course. And she said, well, they're probably not going to entertain you. Then if they do, they're going to have a minimum order of 25 kg, and then you're going to have to pay a formulation fee. I'm like, poppycock. If you go to the right house, you'll be able to get small MOQs, and they won't charge you a formulation fee. I've never dealt with one fragrance house that wanted a formulation. There was only one in the US. It was quite big. It wasn't an incredibly famous one. It's not one of the big five I've already mentioned, but they wanted money, but nobody else did. And my client said, I'm not paying you any money. Why would we? Because, what if you get it wrong? What if you get the samples wrong and we don't want to work with you? And it ended up that we didn't want to work with them because the samples were terrible. So thank goodness she saved, a couple of $1,000 there. But mostly, for the most part, they will not charge you a formulation fee. But don't take the piss, right? It's like, don't ask them, I'm launching 30 perfumes, I want 30 samples, and I want 3 modifications of I want 3 variations of each, so therefore I want like 90 samples. That's not going to happen. And you need to be deadly serious. And sometimes they will ask you for a trade license. At the very least, perhaps your trade license number, your address, your business address, telephone number. You might have to fill in an application form, you might be able to just do it over the email. But they want to know that you're serious and not getting freebies, because believe me, there are a lot of people that do that. And they're like, oh, I want a sample of Chanel No. 5 that's got a little twist of J'adore. Then I want Hermes Kalesh with a little twist of, a Givenchy fragrance, perhaps organza, and then, I want another one. And then can I have like 10 samples of grey flannel? Can I have Epris by Max Factor? Can I have like 50? And they'll be like, no. So this is why you need to get your brief in order before you approach a perfume house, because you can start to build a relationship with them before you give them the brief, so that you know that you're comfortable working with them. But it's something that you should be doing simultaneously. So you should be working on a brief. You might already have it. If you've already got it, great. Make sure that it's comprehensive. Have a look again at my perfect brief to see what I mean. Excuse me. Make sure that it's comprehensive. Like for instance, this one, this is obviously the one that I created for Carlsberg, Kronenberg 1664 blank, and it was for their beer, and it was just a promotional item. They only ever made 500 bottles, that was it. And a student of mine actually said to me, this was quite a challenging brief, but a student of mine, she came to my live class in Nigeria, and she said, I love this fragrance, Melanie. I'm obsessed with it. She said, I want you to make me a fragrance like this, similar, same, but different, right? So I want it to be a little bit like this, but I would like an edge of rose. So I worked with it. I said, what about the Rose de Mai in Grasse? It's a stunning fragrance. It's different than Rose Absolute, from the Bulgarian rose, Turkish rose, etc. And it's different than Rose Essential Oil. So the Rose de Mai is an absolute, and it's got a very specific, unique quality, unique nuances. It's amazing, multifaceted. So we ended up creating, with the help of the perfume house that I deal with in the UK, we created something for her based on that. And then another one, because everyone's raging about Baccarat Rouge. There's so many copies of Baccarat Rouge at the moment. So try and, if you want to, come up with a new fragrance, don't try and do a copy or a variation of Baccarat Rouge, because everybody's doing it. But she wanted something about Baccarat Rouge, and then to have a little oud and rose on that, again, a little twist on that. So these are like little things that, you can think about if you want to, if you're okay with mixed media as well. That's another point I need to get across, is don't expect, and all of this information is in an ebook, but I know that a lot of you like to, very visual and like to have videos, so I like to talk about it. And I always think about little anecdotes as well to add to my explanations, but don't expect 100% natural fragrance. That's why the one in grass is struggling. Why would you want 100% natural? He said. I said, because that's what my brand is and that's what it stands for. And, you know, I've got nothing against some of the safer synthetics, aroma chemicals and things like that. But, you know, I do prefer, my ethos is all natural. And that's why I want it, even though it's going to cost me 2,000 euros for this. Like, that's it. It's like a bottle of water. So even though it's going to cost me that much, I still want it. So I'm willing to wait. Now you're probably asking why you're not working with the one in the UK. Is that they didn't really want to do it for me. But I might just approach them again, actually, because of the problems I'm having with this guy who's making me feel like a little small person. But don't expect all natural. It's going to be very difficult. And when I went to an exhibition in Dubai, we went to a stand, and there was a guy there. He wasn't a perfumer. He was in sales. And me and my Nigerian friend, who was a student then turned into a friend. This is another Nigerian lady. She came for a private class to Dubai, and then we went to the Beauty World exhibition together. And she's amazing. And we approached this guy and went, oh yes, it's nice, but it smells quite, you know, you can tell the difference when you're working with naturals, and you're working a lot with naturals and making natural fragrances, and then you just keep coming across synthetic fragrances. It's like, it's almost like poison to you. It's awful, it's terrible. And I really have an aversion to synthetic fragrances that smell so synthetic as well. You know, like a $2 splash from Aldi or something. So, what I wanted to say is that this guy said it's impossible. It's impossible to make a good perfume without the use of aroma chemicals and synthetics. And I asked Mandy Aftel about this as well. Mandy Aftel, Berkeley-based natural perfumer. I interviewed her for my book, and she's on my blog. And I asked her why. What do you think about this statement? And she said, I think it's just because they've never tried. And it's true, because classically trained perfumers, like artists, are taught how to copy a Monet or a Da Vinci for painting. They're taught because it teaches them. And this is why they're taught, because it teaches them the various brush strokes. So classically trained perfumers are taught how to copy by themselves, by smell alone, how to recreate famous fragrances so they can understand the facets of it and they can understand the materials that are in that fragrance. So that's how they're taught, and they're dealing with naturals and mostly synthetics. Maybe 80-90% synthetics you might get in some of these fragrances. So that's why a lot of fragrance houses and a lot of perfumers don't want to. It might not even be that they don't want to give you the time of day because they know that it's going to be really expensive for you, because if you've got the budget, then, you know, so what? But perhaps it's because they don't know how to. And that's why, if you are going to go down that road, it's better for you to create it yourself, perhaps, and then give them the formula. Why would I give my formula over to anybody, Melanie Jane? I hear you say, well, you can sign an NDA, and that's in one of the downloadable docs in the legal section. Now, a lot of the time an NDA isn't really worth the paper that it's written on, but if you've got a really good relationship with a perfume house, they are never going to use that formula for anybody else. So now this leads me to another point that I haven't put into the ebooks, is the client, the difficult client that I worked with. He said, I want to guarantee that if anything ever happens with this perfume house, if they go bankrupt, for instance, and the business closes down in 5 years, I want that formula from them. And I said, that's not going to happen. And he said, well, I want that guarantee. And he wouldn't believe me. So I had to go back to my client and get it in writing from her. And she said, Melanie Jane, not in a million years, even if we were to go bankrupt, would we give away our fragrance formulas to anybody for any amount of money. So bear in mind, when you do go to a fragrance house, they might put a modification or something in there, but they're never, and it might not be completely your formula. You might go, oh my God, they've made it better. What is it? What's that formula? They'll never give it to you. Never. So don't expect it. But what they will do is, because they've created something bespoke for you, of a modification of an existing formula, because this is really the route that you are most likely going to go down and not the completely bespoke route. So you're going to be looking at something with a modification of another fragrance, and they will not give you that formula, but what they will do is not give that blend, that proprietary blend, to any other client. But what they might do is let another client smell that blend and then say, well, you can't have this one, but you can have a modification of it. So these are some of the expectations that you need to have. So that is, I'm going to do another short video about choosing, fragrances to be probably the base, and then put a little twist on it. If you're not going to go down the whole natural and give them your formula, or work with a scent designer, or work with a perfumer, because you might not be creating your own fragrance. This course isn't just for people that want to create their own fragrances, it's for people that want private label perfumes. So I will talk about that in another short video, but I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about today, and about managing your expectations with these perfume houses, because I don't want you to be disappointed when you go in there and you expect the moon, and you get just a little slice of cheese. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I'm trying to think if I need to what was the other thing? I just wanted talking about bespoke. Now, I've only ever done it one time with one client in the US, and we use 3 perfume houses, because a lot of companies actually do this. So if you look at, let's say, Dior have their own in-house perfume, and so does Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Cartier as well. But a lot of them, so let's say Jo Malone now, they'll use a perfume house. So my light just went off because the battery went. Never mind. It's probably better without the light anyway, isn't it? And I'm not going to stop talking and let that put me off. So what I wanted to say is that the client in the US, they don't have their own in-house perfumer. They dealt with me for scent design. But what they did do is they played off 3 fragrance houses. So it's like if you're buying a stapler, you work in an office, do you know what I mean? It's like one of the things you might have to do is get 3 quotes. You're buying a new photocopying machine, you have to get 3 different quotes to get the best price, but also the best quality and the best after-sales service perhaps. So this is the same in the perfume industry. So they play perfumers off against each other, and then they'll say, oh, actually that house was better. So with my client in the US, we dealt with 3. I can't reveal any of them, but we dealt with 3 quite big, good, reputable perfume houses. And we gave them a very, very incredibly thorough brief. We even gave them images of what the candle, what do you call it? The factice, not factice, that's a dummy, like the flacon, the vessel, yeah. So the vessel of the candle, we gave them pictures of that, imagery that we were going to use in the marketing. There was a lot of thought that went into it. We gave them the full story, a really in-depth brief and everything. And when we got the samples back, we couldn't believe 2 of them were so off the mark. One of them smelled like, I'm not kidding, like it smelled like Brute. It smelled like an old man's aftershave. It actually reminded me of my dad. And the shaving foam, Gillette shaving foam, that's what it smelled like. And I'm like, that's not the brief that we gave you. So they just completely went off the mark. So we're like, right, well, definitely, we're not even going to bother asking for modifications because they were so bad. The other one, also bad, and really like the allergies that we were getting, sneezing, black smoke and watering eyes, headaches and everything, nausea. So we didn't use them. So straight off the bat, we're just going to go with this one, because the quality of the fragrances and the quality of the candles and the burn and the scent throw and everything was superior to the other 2. So then what we did is we went, right, we like this one. This one out of the 6 needs no modifications. It's perfect. Hit the nail on the head. The next one we went to, and we were like, we like this, because what we did, we had 6 fragrances and we got 2 samples of each. So they put a little variation so you can decide. So it's always really good, and it cuts down time. So when you're dealing with a perfume house, ask them to do this for you. One perfume, give me 2 samples of it, 2 variations, because often, more often than not, perfume house and perfumers and they can't get it inside your head. So giving that little variation will give you a little bit of, there's a bird on the window. Oh my God, it's so cute. It's looking for bugs. It's trying to get into my studio. I think it's saying, where's my seed? You didn't feed me today. Anyway, I'll go out and feed it in a minute. But I've got better things to do at the moment, like talk to you. So we went to the perfume house and we said, right, so this one nailed it. We're going to go with that one. This one, we like number A more. But we want a little bit more X. This one we liked, but we liked the other one as well, the variation of it. What about a 50-50 combination of the both? I think that would be really good. This one, no, sorry, we're way off the mark here. Let's go back to the drawing board on that one. This one, we like some elements of it, but not a lot of the elements in it. And I think we need to take this out. So it's all about that. And you have to give them feedback, and you have to give them written feedback, because the person, your point of contact, is most likely going to be someone that's in sales. And then they will be then giving that information to a fragrance evaluator, who will then pass on that information. So you need to make sure it's not like Chinese whispers. So it has to be, because it'll go sales, fragrance evaluator, perfumer, and then you for the evaluation. But you need to be very quick and prompt. Don't sit there for months on end, umming and ahhing and waiting, to give feedback. You need to be quite prompt, because they're on the ball, and they're helping you, and they're giving you these samples. It's taken them time. They've given them to you for free. I kid you not, they used to ship them to me, these samples, every single time by DHL or FedEx or whatever courier, from the US to France. It must have cost them a fortune, and they came in boxes like this, and they gave us 2 candles and 2 neat fragrances for each one perfume. So there were 4 samples for one perfume that we were going to create. So that's 24 things, I think, all in all, 6 times 4, yeah. So those are some of the things that you need to think about. And when it does come to giving the feedback, what you must do when you come and give them feedback, don't go, oh my God, this is awful. You were so off the mark. I wouldn't even spray it in my toilet to get rid of a poo smell. You can't do that. You can't be like that, because you're dealing with professional people. But also you need to remember that a professional perfumer who's trained for at least 2 years, who then went on to become an apprentice perfumer, and then made the way up. It took them years, almost as long as a doctor, to become a perfumer. And they have put their artistry into this. For you to be so cutting and disrespectful will not go down well. So you need to manage your relationship, and you need to give constructive criticism. And what you need to do is put it into a sandwich. So you can always start with the ones that you liked, and then always end with the ones that you like. And then the ones that you don't that much, or the ones that you really don't at all, put them in the middle of the feedback. So absolutely, well done you. Love this one, nail on the head, it's brilliant. Second one, not so much, blah, 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 and in that way. And then the last one will be, oh, I love this. It reminds me of this and these elements, and it's so sophisticated. I just think it could do with a little of X, Y, Z. So I think it's about with this relationship, because if you piss them off, they've got a lot of clients. And I'm telling you, the perfume industry has never been as busy as it is right now. It's booming. And during COVID, so many businesses went like that. And perfume went like that, through the roof, especially because of the fragrances that people wanted in their hand sanitizers. That's where the big bucks were during the pandemic. And it's never been as busy. So they've got lots of other clients that they can deal with that are going to be nice to them. So be nice. Remember that you're dealing with someone that has put a lot of effort into these samples that they're giving you, and they've put work into it, and time and artistry. So don't be negative about that. Don't be disrespectful of that. And yeah, just give them really good, clear, concise feedback. You might get one of them just go, really sorry, perhaps I wasn't clear in my brief. Can we have a talk? And I've done this. I've been like, let's have a chat. Let's have a chit chat over Zoom. And I did that one time with the guy who was in sales. And because the couple of them, the first 6 were brilliant, absolutely wonderful. Then we went to another 5. And what happened is that they'd handed over the project, that we were dealing with a different sales guy, but we were dealing with a different fragrance evaluator as well. He was quite junior to the one we were used to. And all of them were really off the mark. And my client was so disappointed, even though the briefs were just as thorough as they were the first time with the first 6 fragrances. So we had to have a talk with them. And we went on Zoom and I talked to the sales guy, and I was you can read people, especially when you're talking on Zoom. Things get lost in translation and email. So it's always best to try and if you can have a phone call, a WhatsApp call, or a video call, because you can read people a lot more. And when you've got emails, people will always go back to an email that seems a bit cutting to them, because you might be dealing with people with different nationalities, and people with different nationalities take offense at things that you otherwise wouldn't. For instance, we used to we had a lot of Iraqi guys when I worked for an engineering company, and one of my friends from South Africa called one of them. She was like, "Oh my God, you're crazy." He went ballistic. Now, to me, like, calling someone crazy in a fun, jesty way it's funny. And she was saying it in a nice way. He went absolutely ballistic. So yeah, you need to be mindful of the nationalities of the people that you're dealing with as well. So yeah, have a call with them. When I called this guy, I spoke to him, he was very funny. So I felt with the relationship we already had, we clicked right away. And I thought, you know what, I can be really honest with him and give constructive criticism, be nice, but I can also be funny. And he liked it because he found my English sense of humor very endearing. And he was American. And he said, it's been such a challenge doing these fragrances. And I said, well, why? He said, because we never have ever in our history created a fragrance from scratch and with such specific direction of the notes that you want in there, because it was a whole story and they were struggling with it. But what happened is that then my client got a hold of them and just said, listen, we really love working with you. We don't want to go anywhere else. Because at one point it was like, they were like, listen, if you don't like what we've got, and when what we're going to do is we're going to hand it over now to the evaluator that you dealt with before, and do it a different way. But what we are going to do is send you these samples, but once you've got them, if you don't like them and there's no redeeming qualities at all, that you can't just make minor modifications to, then we think we need to cut ties, because they don't want to work that hard to create a fragrance for you. But it was perfect. And, we got on board with them. My client was talking to them. We got more information over to them. We didn't adjust our brief because there was nothing wrong with our briefs, but what we did do is make sure, steered them on the right path and just say, listen, this is, we know you're not used to dealing with bespoke, but we're a serious company. We're not just coming to you for samples and freebies. We've already made orders with the other 6 fragrances, and now you're doing another 5 for us. We're happy with the first 6. We just don't know why the next 5 missed the mark so much. So yeah, that's it. It's about managing your expectations. That's what this video has been all about. And I hope it gave you some food for thought regarding fragrances. There's some amazing fragrances that you can make, and I just really wish you the best of luck. It's patience, it's persistence, it's artistry, it's passion more than anything else. If you don't love what you're doing and you're just in it for the money, no, it's not good, because you're gonna lose your shit a lot of the times, and you're gonna be wondering, why are you there? Why are you doing it? And there's days, trust me, as an entrepreneur, I wake up and I go, what the fudge was I thinking? And I started doing this all those years ago because I have my tantrums and I have my meltdowns and my tears. But I do it because I love it. I do it for the passion of it. I do it because I love sharing my knowledge. I do it because I love seeing the progress that students make when they're like, oh my God, I'm so successful. I can't believe what I've done. And, you know, we've got these amazing fragrances and our brand is so successful. And thank you so much for all your help. And that just makes my heart sing because, you know, we're not all going to be on this planet forever. And if I have inspired people to go on and create a successful brand and follow their dreams like I did all those years ago, then every tear and every tantrum is worth it. Trust me. I'm going to sign off now and do another little quick video about something that I forgot, but that's because I've not had lunch yet. So I'll see you on the other side. And we're going to be talking about packaging in the next section.